My stepmother sued me for financial abuse, claiming I was withholding her share of my father's estate. In court, she sobbed, "I deserve more." I quietly presented records showing she had already spent her entire share, and was now demanding mine. Her lawyer sat silently. I never thought I'd be the kind of person caught up in a bitter court battle over money. But I also never thought my stepmother would spend $500,000 in 8 months and then sue me for more. This is the story of how my dad's gold-digging second wife tried to steal my inheritance, and how I stopped her. Some background. My dad, Robert, built a good life for himself. He started a small construction company in Chicago when he was in his early 20s. He worked hard, expanded, and by the time he was in his 50s, he was running a multi-million-dollar business with a fully paid-off house, investments, and a very comfortable life. I was his only kid. My mom passed away when I was 14, and it was just the two of us for a long time. We were close. Then, when I was 23, Nancy entered the picture. Nancy was 20 years younger than my dad. She was blonde, always perfectly dressed, and had that polished, rich woman look that screamed, "I've never worked a day in my life." At first, she was nice to me. But once she and my dad got married, I started seeing her real personality. Nancy treated my dad like a human ATM. She never worked. She never cooked. She never did much of anything. But she spent his money faster than he could make it. Designer handbags. First-class vacations. Spa days. Botox, fillers, new boobs, a new nose, lip injections, you name it, she got it done. Dad never said much about it. I think he just wanted to be happy, and if throwing money at Nancy kept the peace, he was fine with it. But then he got sick. The diagnosis. Cancer. Stage 4. It hit fast, and it hit hard. He was gone in a year. Nancy played the grieving widow perfectly at the funeral. Sobbing. Collapsing into people's arms. Wailing like a woman in an old black-and-white movie. But later that same night, at the house, she pulled me aside and asked, "How much money did your father leave me?" "No, are you okay?" "No, I know you lost your dad, too." "Just money." "The will." My dad wasn't stupid. He had been running a business for over 30 years. He had seen what divorce and money fights could do to families. His will was clear, fair, and legally airtight. Nancy got the house, worth about $900,000, and $500,000 in cash. I got everything else, his business, his remaining investments, and assets. Nancy was furious. "This can't be right," she said. "Where's the rest?" I told her this was what Dad wanted. He had talked to me about it before he died. He wanted me to have the business because I had been working in it with him for years. But she wouldn't listen. She stormed out of the house and spent the next few weeks calling my dad's lawyer, demanding more money. She even tried guilt-tripping me. "You don't need all that money, sweetheart. Your father would want me to be comfortable." I told her she got a free house and $500,000. That should be enough for anyone. She stopped talking to me after that. The spending spree. I wish I could say Nancy took that money and used it wisely. But 8 months later, it was gone. Every single penny. I know this because she made no effort to hide it. Her Facebook and Instagram were filled with pictures of her new BMW shopping sprees at Gucci, Prada, and Louis Vuitton vacations in Paris, Dubai, and the Maldives spa days, expensive dinners, yacht parties, you name it. She blew through $500,000 like it was Monopoly money. Then, out of the blue, she called me. "Hey, I need some money." I actually laughed. "What happened to Dad's money?" "I had a lot of expenses." "No, Nancy. You had a lot of stupidity." I told her no. I wasn't giving her a dime. She hung up on me. I figured that was the end of it. I was wrong. The lawsuit. A few weeks later, I got served with legal papers. Nancy was suing me. She claimed I had committed financial abuse by withholding her rightful inheritance. She accused me of manipulating my father into cutting her out of the will while he was dying. She wanted the court to give her half of everything I inherited, which meant she was now after my business, my investments, and my father's remaining assets. I was speechless. Nancy had already spent everything my father left her. Now she wanted mine, too. Preparing for battle. Nancy may have thought she could cry her way into getting more money, but she made one huge mistake: she forgot who she was dealing with. I grew up watching my dad negotiate business deals, handle lawsuits, and prepare airtight contracts. I wasn't about to let this woman steal everything my father built. So I gathered every piece of evidence I could find: my dad's will, which had been legally written long before his diagnosis. Emails and texts between my dad and his lawyer, proving the will was his decision. Bank statements showing Nancy had already received her $500,000, and spent it all. Screenshots of her social media, showing her blowing through money on designer brands, fancy vacations, and plastic surgery. I was ready. The courtroom showdown. The day of the hearing, Nancy showed up dressed like a movie star. She wore a black designer dress, heels that cost more than my rent, and a dramatic veil, like she was still mourning. She played the grieving widow act perfectly. Her lawyer made me sound like a greedy, heartless monster. This young man manipulated his dying father into changing his will. My client was left with nothing while he took millions. Nancy sobbed into a tissue for extra effect. The judge turned to me. How do you respond to these accusations? I stood up and calmly handed over my stack of evidence. As the judge flipped through the documents, I saw Nancy's lawyer go pale. Then, the judge's expression hardened. Ms. Nancy, I see you received a house and $500,000. Can you explain where that money went? Nancy froze. I sat back, waiting for her to dig her own grave. The moment everything changed. The courtroom was dead silent. Nancy had spent the last hour playing the grieving widow, but now, faced with the hard truth, she looked trapped. Her lawyer shifted uncomfortably. The judge was still waiting for an answer. Nancy swallowed hard and forced out, "I had expenses." What kind of expenses? The judge asked, flipping through the bank statements I had provided. Nancy opened her mouth, closed it, and then, like a cornered animal, she snapped. Why does it matter? It was my money. My husband left it for me. I deserve more. The judge was not amused. Ms. Nancy, this court is not in the business of rewarding poor financial decisions. You are suing for additional funds despite having spent $500,000 in less than a year. Can you justify why you are entitled to more? Nancy's lawyer sighed heavily and pinched the bridge of his nose. I leaned back. This was the moment everything shifted. Nancy had been counting on sympathy, on looking like a helpless widow being bullied by her dead husband's son. But the evidence didn't lie. And then, out of nowhere, Nancy turned on me. The accusation that changed everything. She shot up from her chair, pointing a perfectly manicured finger at me. He stole from me, she screamed. Everyone, including the judge, froze. He had access to my accounts. He hacked into them and took money. That's why I have nothing left. He's a liar and a thief. Nancy's lawyer visibly recoiled. He hadn't been expecting that. Neither had I. This wasn't just desperation, this was a calculated move. If the court believed her, I wouldn't just lose the case, I'd be facing criminal charges. The judge looked at me. Mister, my last name, do you have a response? I did. The proof that destroyed her. I pulled out another folder and handed it over. Your Honor, I anticipated Ms. Nancy might make accusations like this, so I took precautions. Inside the folder were certified bank records showing, I never had access to her accounts. Every single withdrawal was made with her own debit card or through her logged-in online banking. Several transactions were made from luxury stores, high-end salons, and first-class airline tickets, all booked under her name. And, for the cherry on top, a forensic financial analysis I had ordered, proving there were 0 unauthorized transactions. Nancy's face turned white. Her lawyer looked like he wanted to melt into the floor. The judge read through the documents, then looked at Nancy. Ms. Nancy, do you understand that accusing someone of theft without evidence is perjury? Nancy stammered. She was losing control. And I wasn't done yet. The hidden bank account. I pulled out one final document. Your Honor, while reviewing Ms. Nancy's financials, something odd came up. Nancy's head snapped toward me. I found out that while she was claiming to be broke and in need of more inheritance money, she actually transferred over $120,000 into a private offshore account. Gasps rippled through the courtroom. Nancy's eyes bulged. Her lawyer looked like he was about to pass out. That's a lie. Nancy shrieked. But the proof was right there, a full paper trail. Nancy had hidden money away while pretending to be destitute. Now the court knew it. And things were about to get a lot worse for her. Nancy's breakdown. Nancy's entire body was rigid with shock. She looked like she'd been hit by a truck. Her lawyer turned to her, whispering something urgently, probably asking if there was any way to explain the offshore account. Nancy ignored him. Instead, she lunged forward, slamming her hands down on the table. "That money was for emergencies," she shrieked. The judge arched an eyebrow. "And yet, you failed to disclose it while claiming you were financially ruined." Nancy froze. I could see the gears turning in her head, trying to figure out an escape. But there wasn't one. Her whole lawsuit was built on the idea that she had nothing left. That I had wronged her. That she was a helpless widow betrayed by her stepson. But now, in front of a full courtroom, she had been exposed as a liar. Her hands were shaking. Then she did something I never saw coming. She turned to her own lawyer, and accused him. "My lawyer set me up. He told me to do this," she screamed, pointing at him. "He told me I had a case. He said we could get more money if I pushed it." Her lawyer jerked back like she had slapped him. "Excuse me. You set me up," she howled. The judge sighed, rubbing his temples. "Ms. Nancy, I strongly suggest you compose yourself." Nancy's hands clenched into fists. I could tell she was on the edge of a full meltdown. Her lawyer, looking mortified, turned to the judge. "Your Honor, I had no knowledge of an offshore account. If I had, I would have never proceeded with this case." Nancy spun on him, eyes wide. I said to be honest," he snapped, finally losing patience. "You lied to me, too, Nancy. And now we're both screwed because of it." Then, right in front of the entire courtroom, her lawyer picked up his briefcase, turned to the judge, and said, "I withdraw from this case." Nancy was now completely alone. I had never seen someone's life unravel so quickly. One minute, she was trying to rob me in a courtroom. The next, she was abandoned by her own lawyer. She looked at the judge, then at me, pure hatred in her eyes. I thought she would explode. Scream. Cry. Throw something. But instead, she did the most insane thing yet. She changed tactics entirely. She collapsed into her chair and started fake crying again. I just made some mistakes," she whimpered. The same woman who had been screaming accusations 5 minutes ago was now acting like a helpless victim again. "I was grieving," she sobbed. "I was scared. I didn't know what to do. I just want what's fair." The courtroom was silent. Even the judge looked exhausted. Nancy had been caught red-handed, and now, rather than accept it, she was doubling down on her pity act. I took a deep breath. "Your Honor, I think Ms. Nancy is forgetting that while she was grieving, she was posting pictures of herself drinking champagne on a yacht in Dubai." Nancy's head snapped up. I wasn't done yet. And if she was so scared and confused, why did she manage to move over $120,000 into a private offshore account? Nancy's fake sobbing stopped instantly. She was caught, and she knew it. Then, just when I thought it couldn't get any worse for her, a new bombshell dropped. The new witness. The courtroom doors opened. A man in a suit walked in, holding a folder in his hands. The judge looked up. "Can I help you?" The man nodded. "Your Honor, my name is Jason Miller. I'm an investigator with the IRS." Nancy's face drained of color. "I was sent here because Ms. Nancy is currently under federal investigation for tax fraud." "I swear to God," the entire room gasped. Nancy looked like she was about to pass out. I, meanwhile, sat back in my chair and watched as her world collapsed around her. The IRS bombshell. The entire courtroom froze. Nancy's mouth opened and closed like a fish gasping for air. Her carefully crafted act, her fake tears, her victim routine, the lies, all shattered in an instant. I don't understand," she stammered, her voice barely above a whisper. The IRS investigator, Jason Miller, was unmoved. He calmly flipped open his folder and continued. "Ms. Nancy, our investigation began after unusual financial activity was flagged in your accounts. In addition to the offshore transfer of $120,000, we discovered that over the last 5 years, you failed to report nearly $400,000 in income from undisclosed sources." Nancy's entire body jerked like she'd been electrocuted. That's a mistake. I don't have any other income." Jason's face remained neutral as he pulled out a stack of documents and handed them to the judge. "The IRS disagrees. According to these records, you have received multiple large payments, often in cash deposits, ranging from $10,000 to $30,000, occurring at regular intervals. These were not accounted for in your tax filings. My mind was spinning. Nancy had more money than she claimed. But from where? Then the realization hit me like a train. She had been hiding money long before my dad died. This wasn't just bad spending habits, this was long-term deception. The final blow. Nancy's breathing became shallow. She started shaking her head violently. No. This is a setup. This is, Ms. Nancy, the judge interrupted, firm and cold, I strongly suggest you stop talking. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a criminal investigation. Nancy's entire act crumbled. The forced tears, the fake grief, the outrage, it was all gone. She looked small. Defeated. And then. She turned to me. The confession. You think you're so smart, don't you? She spat. I didn't say anything. I just stared at her, waiting. Nancy laughed bitterly, shaking her head. Fine. You want the truth. You want to hear it. Everyone in the room was watching her now. Your father was a fool, she hissed. I never loved him. I married him for his money, and when I realized he wasn't going to leave me enough, I made sure I had a backup plan. The courtroom was dead silent. Nancy's breathing was ragged, her eyes wild. I was siphoning money from him for years. Small amounts at first, but then I got bold. I had accounts he didn't even know about. And guess what? Asterisk, she smiled, a cruel, empty thing. I would have gotten away with it if he hadn't died so soon. I heard a gasp somewhere behind me. Maybe from the court clerk, maybe from a random spectator. Even the judge's face, who had been stoic this entire time, showed something close to disgust. I stood up, my hands clenched into fists. You used him, I said, my voice shaking. You drained him dry while he was alive, and when he died, you still wanted more. Nancy's smile dropped instantly. Oh, don't act so righteous, she sneered. Your father was an idiot. He let me do it. That's on him. Something in me snapped. I slammed my hands on the table. He trusted you. Nancy flinched. He thought you loved him. And you just, what? Saw him as a paycheck? As someone you could drain and throw away? For the first time since this whole nightmare began, I saw it, guilt. It was buried deep, but it was there. Nancy's mouth trembled. Her eyes darted to the judge, to her now ex-lawyer, to the IRS investigator, and back to me. She was done. She knew it. Nancy was charged with tax fraud. The judge dismissed her lawsuit immediately and referred her case for criminal prosecution. The IRS seized what was left of her accounts, including the offshore funds she had hidden. She lost everything. The house, gone. Her car, repossessed. Every luxury she had wasted my father's money on. Vanished. I heard later that she tried to flee the state, but the authorities caught her. She was sentenced to 3 years in federal prison for fraud and tax evasion. Her name was dragged through the mud. And me? For the first time in a long time. I felt free. I wish my dad had seen through her. I wish he had known what she really was. But part of me thinks maybe he did, maybe, deep down, he knew she was using him but didn't want to believe it. Either way, I learned my lesson. Greedy people never think they have enough. And sometimes, the best revenge, is letting them destroy themselves.